Good afternoon. We're here at the Mackinac Policy Conference, and we have the pleasure to be joined with Mr. Fred Durhal III, City Council member for the City of Detroit, and also mayoral candidate for the City of Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for having.
How's this policy conference been for you so far?
Oh man, it's been great. We've had the opportunity to connect and talk to some business leaders here as well as other legislators from around the state, which is a great thing. I believe this conference is designed for is to bring everybody together, discuss the most pressing needs of Michigan, as well as the city of Detroit. So it has been great thus far, having the opportunity to share our vision for Detroit and our candidates.
What are the most pressing needs for the City of Detroit right now, beyond even some of the headlines that we've been able to read and just see with our own eyes?
Yeah, I would tell you, knocking on doors, talking to residents, property taxes, right? Folks keep talking about housing being affordable, whether they're renting or homeless. So when we talk about property taxes here in the state of Michigan and the city of Detroit particularly, they're too high. We're twice as high as Grand Rapids. And so folks want us to find a way to lower those taxes. But they also mention public education, which is huge, or education in general. When we talk about building the workforce of the future and create a path for our children that leads to colleges at original cases and caskets, education is going to be the key. And I know it has often been said that that is the third rail that a mayoral candidate should never touch. And no, we don't want to take over the schools, but we're getting ready to release a plan of how we can bring our education and community together and do more for cities our by creating a mission that will allow for all stakeholders, whether it's the superintendent, whether it's charter school leadership, our public school board of education, as well as charter boards, and even city council and philanthropic and private leaders, all at the table to talk about what this path looks like.
And we're going to be very close. So education is a key topic, not just in the city of Detroit, but statewide. And, there's a lot that needs to be done in order to get the next generation of Michiganders up to par with the rest of the country as we compete in a global economy. What's it going to take to really move the needle in terms of improving education, not just in the city of Detroit, but statewide?
Yeah, I mean, you look at states like Minnesota, right, who has done like some amazing work when it relates to education. They have a state mandate where each child in the ninth grade has to have an individualized learning. Here in the state of Michigan, that is not mandated by the state. And in the city of Detroit, one of the things that I want to do and discuss with this commission that you're forward to create is how we build an individualized learning plan for our children, not starting in the ninth grade, prior to that. We know that from earlier ages of preschool up to third grade, okay, children are learning to read, right? And then after that, they read to learn. But what we're failing and how we're missing the mark is that we're not even getting them to that third grade level. I say this all the time. There's no secret that most of the folks that come in contact with our criminal justice system don't read above a third grade reading level or don't have a high school grade GED. So we've got to work on literacy rates here in the city of Detroit. And I think one of the ways we do that is develop those individualized learning plans for each student. That way we have the metrics, we have the data, we can track students and be able to identify their needs and create that path.
Throughout the last few months, we've seen the mayoral candidate involved in some spirited forums, discussions throughout the community. And then here tomorrow night at the Mackinac Policy Conference, we'll see the first official debate with some of the top polling candidates, including yourself. What are you expecting from tomorrow's debate?
We're expecting a good showing. We are who we are. You're not going to see me on the stage with a bunch of index cards or a teleprompter or whatever the case may be, because we know what we know. And we don't say that arrogant. You say that because we're the most experienced candidate you get first. Having the ability to serve on the state level or legislature be a leader in that caucus, at the Democratic caucus there, ranking them on House appropriations, and now being in city council and still delivering for the city by chairing the budget committee, vice chair of planning, and chairing a number of task force, including gun violence task force. We have the experience. We deliver everywhere we bring. I'm only in my third year of council over the past 8 ordinances. Yes, they got ordinances. And unanimous. I think that speaks volumes. I think that speaks. I take that to my experience, but we know the other things done. So on the debate stage tomorrow, we're looking forward to that. Looking forward to talking about our experience. And as they say, separate the wheat from the chaff. Right. Because that's what it's going to take. It is going to take experienced leadership to continue with. Right.
One of the things I want to talk about, the city has been touting some pretty impressive feats over the last year or so. One of them includes the population growth, but another one is with crime reduction, because that's a major issue in the city right now. It's not just about, the numbers, but it's also about how people feel when it comes to safety. And community violence intervention has been a huge reason for the reduction in crime across the city. A couple weeks ago or recently, President Trump cut $145 billion from community violence intervention programs across the country. And I know you were instrumental in giving money from the city's COVID relief dollars to community violence intervention programs. How was that cut at the federal level going to trickle down and impact what's happening boots on the ground here in the city of Detroit?
I think it hurts a little bit. If a lot of our CBI groups have used federal funding that did not come from the French city of Detroit to help build their programs and kind of utilize the resources to expand their programs. What I would say is that is why in this past budget cycle, I put the additional $3 million into community violence intervention of the Shot Stoppers program. Because we knew there was a level of unpredictability at the federal level. We're still trying to work through the state level to get the Public Safety Trust Fund passed through the legislature and have those dollars guaranteed in the sit down here to the city of Detroit, $18 million. And we knew that it was a possibility. And so for me, we thought ahead. And so we put that $3 million on there. And when you look at now what the mayor has added in his proposed budget and we passed, we've got enough to, kind of weather the storm a little bit, but not where we want to be. We want to create a sustainable source for community violence intervention because it works. We see it pay dividends in our communities right now. When we see a lot of crime rates that have dropped and hot spots throughout the city of Detroit where these community violence intervention groups are focused. We want to see a level of capacity. We want to continue moving the needle and having some of the lowest homicide rate and fatal and non-fatal shooting rates in the city's history. But federally, we're hoping they can change their tune. But we're going to do everything in our power to make sure they're continuing to be.
I want to ask you one last question. If elected as mayor of the city of Detroit, what is the hardest truth that you are going to have to deal with once you get into office?
I think the hardest truth that we will have to deal with, there's two. I would say there's two. The first is that $830 million is not coming back. All our funding is gone.
Right.
And you are going to have to rely heavily on the general fund, but you're going to have to work to increase revenues here in the city of Detroit to ensure that you can fund a lot of those programs. You're the hear a lot of candidates and I post talk about it in the creative program for this black. We got to maintain the status quo budget. We got a $3 billion budget. Half of that, 1.5 billion, is in the general fund. And those dollars, you can utilize to kind of create programs and initiatives, but not much.
Wait, just for clarity, when you talk about 1.5 billion of the 3 billion is in the general fund, those things go to cover just everyday services.
That's for everyday city services programs. We want to create some departmental things, and I'll tell you, it seems like a huge number, but for a city as large as Detroit, it's not. That money feels like that, right? Which is why the ARPA funding was so good. So that's the reality. Going back to a status quo budget, which we just passed this fiscal year, but maintaining that, right? You know, we've got to stay fixed. We still have liability when it comes to our pension. We need to make sure they're making our pension payments on time. We still need to make sure that we're putting money in the retiree protection fund. We still have to make money that we put, make sure that we're putting money in our rainy day fund or budget stabilization fund. These are things that creditors want to see. That's one of the reasons we got a triple credit rating upgrade, right? So the reality is it's kind of status quo. You can continue to grow, but you got to get creative. And we've got to do that by continuing to incentivize development here, foster an environment for small business, as well as continue to deliver services for residents so they can stay in our city, be happy, and continue the work to grow it.
Mr. Durhal, as we head into this final 30-day stretch before people get their absentee ballots, I would wish you the best of luck in the upcoming election.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's good.
So remember how I